few different calls with different potential people that want to come join the events
Mhm.
in Australia, or sorry, in Brazil.
Right.
And it's been really amazing. A lot of engagement, a lot of good people. And then today I have also a lot of meetings. So I think that it's really exciting to observe and see how uh, people are recognizing the seriousness and the playfulness of the experience. Because it's not just a retreat. It's really something a lot deeper. And it was interesting because even Satyan, who I connected Mike with, because Mike Satyan is talks a lot about sorry, Mike talks a lot about Jaya when I met them. So
Yeah.
when I met, and so Jaya was a student of Satyan, and Satyan and I know each other pretty well. And I connected them, and so even when I shared it with them, they were really interested about the depth of it. So which is good. It's nice to uh,
In the
recognize
depth of it. What do you mean the depth of it? What does that mean to you? The depth
the
of it.
depth of the retreat, the
Like,
the 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 depth of people facing themselves and choosing to work on the parts of themselves that they don't even know, that don't know that they are hiding from.
right. Okay. Wow.
So this is to me life, because
Life.
there's so much more
It was
meaning to
so interesting. Yeah, we're on this topic. Let me tell you kind of what happened yesterday, just because
please.
it's you and I right now, and it's kind of goes along with what you were just saying.
Yeah.
So I had like two different, very tense conversations with people, almost like confrontational. So the first one was with my brother-in-law, and we've owned houses, I don't know, probably 20 years, like it's going back many years. And I had basically told him I wanted I'm moving away from owning all these single families, especially ones that are older and need a lot of work. And
Mhm.
I was just kind of expressing to him, I had texted him originally saying, because he's in Florida, um, and we had this house, we had an offer on this house, like a really good offer. And he's basically saying no. And I was saying, I was kind of just sharing my feelings about how a lot of the rentals have created a lot of stress in my life, and I'm trying to change that. And so I'm kind of expressing this stuff to him, but he doesn't see any of it. He only sees it from his perspective, which, okay, everyone has an agenda, right? I get it. And I had to just kind of go through it with him on the phone. He's yelling at me, yelling, yelling, just listen to me, just listen to me, just listen. He kept, and I've seen him do that with other people before, but never with me. Never has he talked to me like that. I was just stunned. And I'm in the moment trying to navigate how I'm going to respond. And at one point, I yelled at him. I said, Bruce, I'm listening to you. You listen to me. I have a point of view too. But it was just I haven't experienced that in a long time. And it's so funny because I listened to this morning something from Abraham Hicks. And it was totally about that, about how we need to have the opposites,
Mm.
right? We need the opposites to really understand. Like if everything is just great every day and everything's flowing along, we don't get to learn, right? From that. So I've been processing because I am going to respond to him by email. But what happened in the end when I'm talking to him, I said, okay, Bruce, because he is only seeing things through his eyes. He's not seeing it through my eyes. I'm tired of this. He's just, because I said, I don't want to be saddled to these properties for the rest of my life, right? And we had this agreement way back when we'd sell a house a year kind of thing. And he's holding me to that, right? And I have to think, yeah, I made that agreement with him. But I also said, like, life circumstances sometimes, I said, and no, I didn't say this to him. I thought, what if I got cancer? Then would he listen to me? Would it have to be something really dramatic? The fact that I'm stressed about it, he doesn't care. That's on me. And in some degree, and he's right. That is on me to kind of deal with that. And I know how I can, because I've come to terms with, okay, because I said, okay, we're not going to sell that house. We'll sell it next year. Like, I'm not going to have a big fight and have a big war in the family. That is just not worth it, right? I basically relented and just said, and the thing is, the other thing he said was, well, the reason he doesn't want to sell it is because of his tax consequences. And I said, well, explain that to me. But he wouldn't. Like he wouldn't really. Yeah, I get it. You sell a house, your income goes up, you're going to pay more tax. But I think he has other income, maybe from RRSPs or something that, but he won't explain it to me for me to understand because I wanted to have an understanding because I just thought whether we sell it this year or next year, yeah, you're going to have to pay tax on it. And then he said, well, if you can get 15,000 more or something, then maybe I'd sell. And then I was talking to Tracy and he said, well, just give him the 15,000, right? Just if that means so much to him, it's all about the money, right? Okay, if that means, then I could do that. So that was and then of course, then we were going out, we're going for dinner and you know, I'm trying to not have that affect, you know, the rest of my day because when someone's yelling at you and they're just like, they're seething, he's just seething. And, you know, when I was replying today, I wanted to just tell him or suggest to him, like, when we're discussing something and there's a lot of anger, it's not very productive. Like, I felt that I couldn't get anywhere. He was just kind of venting to me and just, I could tell like it's like he doesn't trust me. He hates all realtors. Like he says these things. And we had those two offers last year and the realtors, yeah, sometimes you get an offer and they fall through. That's just the reality. It's not the realtor's fault. So it was just all that. That was just one of the things that happened. But maybe I'll get your like take on that.
So my experience, as you know, and I think we've had different discussions, is when there's things outside of our circumstance that I can't control.
Yeah.
I know that the only thing that I can control is my response.
Yes, totally.
I built and that's responsibility. Like that's my ability to respond.
Yeah.
And remember what we talked about? So like these are all tests for greater and bigger
Yes.
opportunities, right? So when the
Yeah.
bigger the problem shows up with a bigger, more pattern, right? This is a small pattern that will show up in a bigger way based off how you choose to respond to it.
Yeah, exactly.
So you'll either repeat the pattern or you'll interrupt the pattern and you'll create a new you'll utilize that pattern or for creating a new one. And you know, Tony talks about this, right? Recognize, utilize, create the patterns, right? Those are the three standards of really
Well,
and
yeah, in my past, I would have just like yelled back at him.
right. And so what you
Didn't
were
do that.
able to do is you were able to observe. And in my experience, that is the ultimate power because that emotion that wants to take you back into a place where you used to operate because the operator, right,
Yeah, the operator, yeah. Programming, yeah.
is like, hold on, where's my true power? It's in owning the experience, knowing that this is happening for me and not to me.
Yeah, yeah,
And so
totally.
from that ownership perspective, you can observe the experience and have a discovery of saying, what is it right now that I'm learning about myself, the mirror that's surrounding me right now in this moment, so that I can focus on an empowering story for the next time it shows up.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it might be something because remember, like, you know, the story of Tony, I'll take out the trash, I'll, you know, like, right? Do you know what I mean? So that story, I'll take out the trash. It's just upper, and then in 7 years, or you know how he says it, 7 years, 7 months, 70 years, whatever. At some point, you're like, take it out yourself, right? So the experience now is about how fast can you capture the pattern without prolonging the emotional connection that will affect others.
Yeah, totally.
And
Mm.
so we can uh, navigate those experiences a lot faster if we don't, as you know, take it personally.
Yeah, that's right. That's
And so
right.
we don't take it personally, and we know that we're just this beautiful vessel of transformation or divinity. Uh,
Yeah, I was trying to find that.
right? We can ask ourselves our primary question.
Yeah.
And we can ask ourselves that primary question: how can I appreciate the
Even more.
infiniteness of God's infinite intelligence coming through me in this moment? And that's in me, around me, because we know that we're consciousness manifesting ourselves in the human experience.
Yeah,
And so we put ourselves back into a state of peace. Again, this is my experience, you know.
yeah,
And you've literally watched me do it in real time, multiple times. Where like the solution there may be situations outside of me I can't control,
yeah.
and I choose to stay in that state of peace because I know that by owning that, I stay in my power.
Mhm.
Otherwise, I become a victim of circumstance, and I choose not to live that way. I can't. I can't because I know without a shadow of a doubt that I'm part of something way more infinite than is inside or this body, you know? And I really honor that space and place. And so for me, that's always been the choice because then I can open myself up to the magic that's available to us all. And that creative possibility gives the synchronicity of something so much more inspiring and empowering to the way that I observe you, me, or anyone around me. You know what I mean? So does that resonate with you?
Yeah, totally. Totally. Totally, totally. Exactly. Yeah, yeah. Like I don't think that in that moment, I did not stay in that, uh, I got caught up in the ego, right?
Mm.
Because I did take it personally at first. When I reflected on it after, then I can look at it and I can assess it and I can process, okay, how could I have done it better? How could I have, stayed in that place? Like, first of all,
Beautiful.
maybe, first of all, before I had the phone call, I could have got into a peak state and I could have went back to my primary question, which would have like set me up for, okay. I mean, I guess the problem was I didn't expect that. I didn't expect it, right? It was like, whoa, okay, where's this coming from? And it's coming from somebody like, obviously he's got some pain happening where if he feels he has to yell at somebody, um, he's got his own stuff to deal. I can only really do my, it's like what you're saying, when you stay in that peaceful place, that's what I can do. I can't control what he's going to do. And what he's going to do is what he's going to do. I don't even have to judge it, right?
And that comes back to those trading those expectations for appreciation, and then
Yeah.
we can appreciate what's happening because I don't know where this happened in my life, Brenda, but at some point I started to be able to really just observe people's perspectives without fear of what it would mean for me. So it allowed me to just, what am I learning here? What is my choice in observing the lesson?
Yeah.
Because people are sovereign, whether they know it or not, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, but they are. Yeah, it's true.
And so if we recognize our own sovereignty in ourselves, we can see that every person is navigating from their own source of intelligence. Again, whether they're conscious to it or not, it doesn't matter yet, because when we find that sovereignty in ourselves, we can observe the points of where the subconscious, the unconscious, or the superconscious mind show up. And when that shows up, we can actually see what's true in our own synchronicity. And I'm certain that that's probably why most people in the past didn't, because I was so profoundly wanting to share, like I was just like, it was like forceful that
Uh-huh.
I push people
Yeah.
away.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And so I just now listen and I just appreciate. I do my best. And
Yeah.
compassion is a big part of it, right? So, like you said, this experience of being compassionate to yourself, like, wow, this is where I was, it's okay. I learned the lesson so that next time I can get back into that state of peace immediately. It's like you're doing your best as well, right? You're
Yeah. Yeah,
the
totally.
lesson.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And these things they're just going to come up. That's just life, right? And it's like teaching us these, okay, Brenda, so you think you're always there in that space. Okay, well, here's something. Let's see, let's see how you navigate it. And it is kind of like it's a beautiful thing when you think about it. Like at the time, it wasn't exactly, I wouldn't call it pleasant. I wasn't necessarily feeling. I was I was always trying to think of how to navigate it but I was up here, right? I was thinking instead of feeling. Yeah.
So if I may, because I know you have another example that you want to share, but before we get, I would love to encourage going back to the feeling of the heart, like kind of pulsating and you're like, you're not present to it. Because again, this is my experience, is that in those moments, my heart, I can feel it just wanting like, and
Yeah. Vibrating.
it's vibrating like, wow, I need to like explode. I want to like roar. And it's putting me in my mind because it doesn't want me to feel it. And then I hold on a second, my mind, I focus my attention on my heart, the pulsatingness of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I put my hand there and I just like, wow, this is so powerful. This
Yeah,
is
that would have been so cool to do right in the middle of him having a big shouting at me. I could have just I could have just done that. Like and just experienced it as and not take it personally kind of thing, and not take it like, oh my God, he's screaming at me kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah, that would have been yeah, good point. But in the heat of the moment, the old ways show up, right?
and for next time, right? Like it's just another
Yeah. I kind of look forward to it.
yay.
Life. It's so
What
great.
what about the other situation, the second one that you were going to share?
Well, the other one is a bit similar. It was like both happening on the same day. It was so bizarre.
Patterns.
Yeah. And so I'm managing this property. I used to manage it for my neighbor and then he sold it. And then the new guy got me to manage it. And it's like a duplex. And the one side, there had been like a group home in there for years. And the place is like a dump, right? It was just, I encouraged them to find something new because we kept getting cockroaches and mice and, it was just like not a great scenario. And I said, they don't need to, I said, I can't renovate this when you're in here. Right? You would have to, and so I encouraged them to try to find another place, which they did. And so the new owner was going to have to do a renovation. And I originally got Kyle, my brother-in-law, he did a quote on it. And that was like that was in the beginning of December. And then they just thought it was too expensive. So they were looking at other contractors. Well, in the end, Kyle's was reasonable. So they hired him. They hired him a month later. So the place was sitting vacant for a month. And then, so Kyle started at the beginning of January, just to do the main floor, just so we could get the main floor done. Then the basement was going to be next. And I think it's about a month and a half to do that reno. I've done a lot of renos. I'm thinking a month and a half is reasonable. And Mohammed I was dealing with him. He's like just a reasonable, easygoing guy. And when he asked me if I would manage that reno, I said, yes, as long as you realize that it's going to take time and I don't want to be pressured that, oh, it's not getting done, it's not getting done, and start putting pressure on me. I said I'm not taking on those kind of jobs anymore. I don't need that extra pressure in my life. So sure, I'm fine to manage this reno, like pick out the tiles in the kitchen and all of that stuff, which is what we did. But then he decides that his wife is going to take over, right? He didn't want to have anything to do with this because they didn't necessarily anticipate that the place was going to be vacant for that long, and money wouldn't be coming in. And it's like you do a renovation, it's going to cost you money. That's just the reality of it, right? You can't expect you're going to have money to pay for it. And so Kyle's almost ready, but now that his wife has kind of taken over, she is micromanaging me. You know, you need to do this, you need to get pictures done, you need to put the ad in, you need to do this, so I said to her, listen, you need to trust that I'm going to do the best job possible for you. And it's not ready for pictures. There's paper all over the floor. They don't have the bathroom done. And she said, well, I don't really care about that. I said, well, I can't really manage it. I can't market it if I don't have some decent photos. Yeah, sure, not everything has to be done. But she wasn't letting it go. This is taking too long. It's taking too long. So all of the things I had said to Mo originally about if I was going to manage this, you have to realize you can't start pressuring me on that it's taking too long or it's not getting rented. I have no control over if something's going to get rented either. And so she's and then I met her yesterday, and, you know, she comes in and, you know, we introduced each other, doesn't say anything about the renovation, just starts in on, this is taking too long. Like, and Kyle was getting livid. Didn't say anything. Wow, this is looking great. Look at this bathroom, looks very good. Because I'm saying, oh my God, this looks fantastic. Like, we've taken it from like a dumpy place. It's looking fantastic. And now Muhammad isn't saying anything, but she is that her masculine energy is, you know, prevalent at the house. And then we went down into the basement to look at the basement. I'm making suggestions that, yeah, the bathroom should be here in the bed, you know, and Kyle's saying, yeah, you've got to make sure that the insulation is, you know, this has to happen because of the way the wall is. Anyway, we're talking all about it. Meanwhile, she's got a couple other contractors coming in to give her quotes. Meanwhile, she's got Kyle upstairs doing all that work, but he takes too long. So, and now she has every right to do that, right? She can do whatever she wants. She thinks it's going to get done in a month and a half. And I said, Farheen, I've done so many basements. They're going to cost 70 or 80,000 or 90. And they're not going to get done in a month and a half. It takes a month just to get permits. And you have to apply for a secondary suite. Oh, yes, Brenda, I know I've done this, you know, she's an expert. And so this is all happening, and I'm like, Kyle's not going to do that renovation. Like, and I'm just kind of very close to just, because she's texting me. She came in here to look at all the statements, and yeah, I made some mistakes on some of the additions, and then I would correct them the next month. And I said to her, I'm a one-man band. Yes, I have made some errors, but I have corrected them the next month. Like, I overpaid them one month by $100 because it wasn't populating. Anyway, I'm going to own that. I made a mistake. But she had gone through every statement and did her own spreadsheet. And it wasn't matching up to my numbers. So when we went through all the numbers, it all made sense. Right? It just all made sense. And then after she sends me a text that was, she wanted to go visit the other unit, like on the other side, there's another duplex with 2 tenants, and she wanted to go visit them. I said, you can't knock on their door. You have to give 24-hour notice. You know, you can't just go knock on their door. They are not going to appreciate that, especially my guy in the basement. He would be pissed. He wants 24-hour notice for everything. So I sent her that message that no, you can't. You know, as part of the landlord and tenant rules, you can't. You have to give a 24-hour notice, and Sundays are off limits. You can't, unless it's an emergency, you cannot go into someone's place. And she said, funny that I have to maintain all the protocols and not get the same vice versa. So she sent me that. I'm not taking it personally. I am looking at it like, okay, can I work with a person? I don't need that job. I don't need to manage that place. I don't, if it's not serving me, if we're not seeing eye to eye, I don't need that, because I replied basically that, you know, we need to communicate professionally and respectfully. Otherwise, like, what are we doing here? This is not serving you. It's not serving me. I would never send, she's an engineer. She's an engineer, and she keeps reminding me she's an engineer getting her MBA, and she knows a lot. She knows how to manage properties. She's got others in Calgary. And then she had all these things. She was changing the whole contract. We need to be paid on the 15th, not on the 21st. You have to let me know of any expenses. So all of those facts and stories, that doesn't really matter. What I garnered from that, and then she's texting me during, I'm at a concert last night. She had texted about going to visit the tenants. And then I'm like, oh my God, I had to answer it because I didn't want her going over it, because it was like, she sent me that text at like 8 at night. And I did not want her going knocking on the door of those tenants. It's just not what you do. It's not cool. And so then this morning, and Tracy said, well, don't dump her yet until she pays Kyle. I mean, because Kyle's doing all this work. And so that is like, so I didn't get all emotional about that. I'm just looking at it like, I don't, for me right now, if I want to stay in my queendom is going to say, Brenda, you don't need that. You don't, like, if I just sent her that text about you know, if we're going to work together, we have to communicate, and hey, I am working for the same thing you're working for. We're trying to, you know, we're beautifying your place so we can rent it out. That's why I do what I do. I like to do that. Do I need the extra couple $100 a month? No, I don't. For me, actually just taking on that job I was trying to help them, because I didn't need to do it. I was trying to get out of managing properties for other people. And that's kind of what I've done in the past. I will do things, not that they're not necessarily serving me. My motivation is to help them. And then I think, well, am I really helping them? Right. In the end, maybe that's my motivation. But when I get a message like that, I feel like she doesn't trust me, doesn't put value in what I'm doing. And so, and again, it's processing, kind of, because I had those two things happen and it was similar in kind of how I was feeling, but less Bruce, because he's family, is a little different, right? He's family. she's not, and I just met her, and she's coming in as a ball breaker. And I'm not going to my, I'm not going to that part of me, and I didn't. But I also stood my ground. But it's probably going back to the same, staying in my heart when I'm communicating. And this morning the way I communicated to her, I was in my heart, not in my head. In my head, I would have said, okay, find somebody new, fuck off. Anyway.
So I first and foremost, if I may, I totally understand where you're coming from because so many experiences that I've had in my own experience of life, most people don't understand the depth that I've gone to because there's a lack of curiosity. And
Yeah.
so they are not aware of the solutions that I can provide. And so uh, they have to trust. Um, and so I get where you're coming from because this person, from what I'm hearing, uh, she's or her husband, had provided a value and you're wanting to serve that value and you're coming from a really higher sense of self, knowing that you've done this for such a long period of time, it's easy for you. And you could figure it out with ease and grace and curiosity and integrity. And I feel that because this is something that even though not a lot of people really understand where I'm coming from, the ones that really get it know where I'm coming from. And so by being able to provide a solution and hey, I've done this for the last, 10 years, 5 years, 40 years. It's really about that initial exchange of saying, hey, I can do this and I can figure it out and I can make it better. And the way that I do things is very much more in like development and creativity and anchoring it. And you're doing it the same way, except in the physical realm, in terms of building and renovations and real estate, right?
Yeah.
And so I get it when I hear you say, hey, like they didn't really appreciate the value that you're bringing because you're showing up in a space of total authenticity and you've been doing this for so long and you just want to serve them. You want to actually give them more than they even understand how much they can give you. And they're not even allowing or appreciating that because they don't see all of what you're doing behind the scenes or all of
Mhm.
what you've been doing in private.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. It's like, when we're taking pictures, they didn't replace the old aluminum windows, so they're all frosty. And I thought, okay, well, I'm going to bring over like a curtain that I'll put up the curtain and I'll take the photo. Well, okay, who does that? Like, I
Right.
don't need
And
to, I don't need to do that, but I would do that because I think that just makes it more marketable because it's going to look better.
so one of the things that I've discovered in my experience of life is uh, I feel like I need to, what I'm learning now is I need to inform even more people of what I'm doing as I'm doing it because uh, again, over the years I would do everything in my power and there was the higher self is just doing it because it wants to serve.
Yeah.
And the client doesn't really understand what's happening because they think the only work that's being done is the work that's done right in front of each other.
Yeah, no, that's so true. It's like Bruce. It's like all the houses I have with Bruce and Pat. I do everything. They haven't even been to the places. They don't even know what I do. They don't know when I go over and talk to a tenant because she's suffering. Her husband died, and I'm sitting with her for half an hour because I care about her. Or, you know, when Canada will go the extra mile and clean out a place for a tenant. Or when I have to evict a tenant because they haven't paid and it's stressful on me. Or when I have to arrange, someone died in the suite. You can imagine what I have to do for that. Like, they don't hear all that. They don't hear all the, paying all the utility bills. Yes, I charge a management fee. It's a management fee. I'm not like the owners still have a responsibility to, I remember one time Pat went over to one of my houses because I was in Europe and she had to meet at the airport for some reason. And she made a comment to Kyle, well, what kind of management does Brenda do when there was some window that needed, like it was an old window? I'm like, she made that comment after years and years and years of me handling stuff. I have a good reason why I didn't change that window because it's a tear down. It's a tear down. It was a window I didn't need to replace. She could have asked me, but she makes a comment seemingly, unimportant. But it just shows that. So when I go to talk to Bruce about, yes, I want to sell these houses and I want to sell them faster than I anticipated. He doesn't see that because he just sees the numbers. He doesn't see all the blood, sweat, and tears put into it over all these years. He just doesn't. They can't because I don't tell them.
Right. So then what I'm hearing is, does there need to be a deeper conversation, not just with Mo and his wife, but also with your brother-in-law about what it's happening into your, like, with your own devotion to this, and how much work you are doing? Because by informing them of the truth, they may become aware of something even more meaningful, and then as a result have a second opinion that may change their perspective. And so I totally resonate where you're coming from, Brenda, and a lot of people in my life have not recognized the value that I bring just by being present, by being peaceful and present, and then going away and figuring out on my own and providing the solution in private, and then coming back with answers, plan, and moving forward. And so this has been a like where I found my own value as well, because I just, as you know, I just say, I'll figure it out, I'll figure it out. And I trust that deeply, right, inside of my heart. And I know that it's not on me to tell people, it should be to show people. That's
Yeah.
how I choose to operate and live in life. And I'm seeing that in a big way with you as well. And maybe it's not you that needs to say it anymore. Maybe having a team or a person or somebody that represents or supports you could be your voice, because sometimes, at least from my perspective, the bigger that we grow, the more we need people around us. And I'm learning about this myself right now, to really see what we're doing behind the scenes so that others can help lift us up. And that's kind of, my suggestion is, maybe there's a deeper conversation that can happen, and maybe there's somebody, that can assist in that conversation of authenticity. And it doesn't even need to come like from your heart. It maybe come from another person's heart that's around you, and it's just informing another person, right? And because I understand that when we're doing it all, we don't want to be like, oh, I did this and I did that and I did that and I did that, because
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
not our nature.
No.
Our nature is just to do it and be in service. However, sometimes we need another person to
Yeah.
provide that insight and inform others of what is actually going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then from that place, we even get to own ourselves, because what I'm learning is that our self-worth is self-measured. And so as a result, if we own it, it doesn't mean we have to say everything, but people around us start talking and supporting us and serving alongside us. And then as a result, it becomes something that people become even more aware of. I could have been saying what I've been, a lot of people that have been in the environment for a year or two, they're thinking that they're coming up with a lot of examples, that things that I've done 6 years ago. And I show what I did. I'm showing up. I've been living that way. I've been doing that. I've been integrating that. And yet they're still doing their best to coach me, but they're not living that themselves. And so I get very like, thank you, and I'll just keep going my way. And so this is something that um, I'm learning, that I just need to step and own that, and say I'll do this with or without you, and then as a result, we just make it happen. So my suggestion here is, what I'm saying is, like, if there's a way to have that meaningful discussion in an open way, or having someone with you that is also there to support you, I
Mhm.
would definitely suggest it, because my hallucination is they don't actually know how much you're doing.
Mhm. Well, I mean, I've I've told them, like, when we're on the call yesterday, I just said that to him
What I mean though is from the
from
like
somebody else, yeah,
no, what I mean
or
is
from the
from your
heart,
heart,
yes,
like what you're
yeah,
doing from your heart. I don't mean like the actions, and
the
like,
actions, yeah.
what I mean is like why you're doing it. Maybe
Mhm.
why this is important to you.
Why? Yeah, yeah. I think that's a good idea. Exactly. Yeah, one of the things he emailed me is about, you know, yeah, getting together and talking about the houses and having a plan, right? That works for them. Not works for me, works for them, right? They're only seeing it one-sided. But in a conversation, maybe that would, I don't know, they might have a different perspective.
And if you want, I'm happy to come with you.
Mhm.
I'm
I'm
just
gonna I'm
I'm
gonna
just
set up something.
announcing it so that you know that I have your back.
I
That's what I'm saying.
appreciate totally appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was my day.
We got it. I got you. So I
Thank
really
you.
love and appreciate you, and I think that this was a beautiful conversation to have, because
Meant
it allows us to pour more insight onto each other. And I whatever you need, I'm here for you.
I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, you have a
Well,
good day, and I'll talk
talk to you
soon.
later. Mwah.
Okay,
Ciao.
love you.